please welcome to the show Paul McMahon of the People's Choice Co-Chair and running for Christchurch, in the Christchurch local elections. What specifically are you running for there?
Yeah,
You've
so
got a
I'm
few
an
going on.
yeah. So I'm an incumbent community board member. I was the chair of my community board this term in the Linwood ward, which is part of the Waitai Community Board, which is made up of three wards, which is Linwood, Burwood, and Coastal. That pretty much covers the whole east side of Christchurch. And for those of you who don't know Christchurch, that's sort of the majority of the lower socioeconomic areas. Not only lower socioeconomic, but definitely like my ward is all lower socioeconomic area. Yeah, and I'm real privileged to represent this area, and I've got a really awesome person with me, another People's Choice person, Jackie Simons, is also running for re-election. Um, and yeah, I've been involved in local body politics for about 20 years.
Wow, that's very cool. And how have you found it this last term? These last 3 years, has it been? Have you seen things shift since you were elected through to now in terms of like how the government? We have a lot of criticisms of our current government, so and there has been a lot around local body politics and how they're interacting or not interacting with local government.
Oh yeah. Um, the thing is, like, local government is a whipping boy. It's easy to blame, to point the finger at local government. The thing that people have to remember is that local government in New Zealand is entirely a creature of statute. So all the rules, all the incentives and disincentives, all of the limitations and powers are all because central government has made it that way. And so um, over the last generation, we have been incentivized to underinvest in infrastructure, and central government has underinvested in infrastructure. Um, and to simply blame local government for the state of things is like, I don't know, for blaming your kids for how you brought them up, you know? It really is like, I mean, I really think that local government's important. I think that community boards are important. That you want decisions to be made as close as possible to those who are affected. Um, and the approach of this government and to be honest, the previous government is to take decisions away from local government. Um, but this government really doesn't believe in local government. It thinks that it wants to make it as easy as possible for the people with power and wealth to do what they want. And they don't think that we have a role to play in well-being. They don't want they want to make it easier for people who, like, for instance, I there's a lot of industrial areas, quite big industrial, two big industrial areas in my ward, and there are real problems with the boundaries between the residential and the industrial area. Um, there's a lot of existing use rights, and the government wants to expand existing use rights, uh, which will come at the expense of working people who live in areas like Woolston, with noise and vibration and all that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
they're not interested in protecting you know people who from from wealth and power. They want to expand their powers.
Yeah, it's a very good summary, I think, of what we've been seeing, and very reflective of I think what we've been calling out quite a lot with this government, unfortunately, that we have to deal with. Uh, but local body politics is very exciting, and it's nice to kind of have, uh, hopefully, with the outcomes of these upcoming elections, we get a feeling for how the general populace is um, feeling about the country, feeling about the.
Well, yeah, the thing that I've really noticed this time in talking to people and a number of our candidates are noticing is that because like last time, so 2022, there was the popularity of the of Labour and the left was had was on the wane, and like in areas like mine, Labour's still very popular, but there was a sort of frustration and a bit of negativity. This time, there's a lot more positivity. People are very frustrated with the current government, and yeah, there are more. I've noticed more this time. People are actively saying, "Oh, yes, I voted for you," and that kind of thing. Um, on the negative side, there's still that polarization, that small element of the population that are very down the rabbit hole, very angry about COVID and stuff. But that's noticeably decreased too. Um, but one thing I also say is, like, when you talk to people face to face, even about some controversial issues like speed humps or something like that, local body, like most people are actually pretty reasonable and understand that, and that there's trade-offs when you make decisions, and we've got to work it out as a community. And that's why I really like community boards, because you can actually, like we've done that stuff on our community board where we've had a really controversial issue, and we've got key stakeholders around the table and have worked through you know the best kind of solution, um, and so I think that's a vital function and why decision making at a local level is so important.
Do you, while we're on the topic of that, do you find that with local body politics, because you've got a mix of heavily invested views around the table at the time, and you're directly dealing with the stakeholders, do you feel like you actually get to a more reasonable solution in local politics versus the likes of central government, where it's basically um, it's glorified debate club where you've got one side of the aisle who's got their party stance and they're saying what they're saying, they're asking the questions, and then the opposition is doing the same. Whereas when you're in local, you're sort of sitting around the table, you're actually discussing the issue at hand and getting somewhere with it.
Well, the I guess the key difference is you're always in government as such, in local government. So you're always in the executive. There's no cabinet. There's no there is, and like we have on our board, we have a five people's choice, incumbents. We have five people's choice, and a person who has quite similar views, and so we tend to we tend to agree in principle, and it's often the details. But as I mean, I'm pretty on the solid on the lefty democratic socialist who and progressive, but I also really value the democratic process and deliberation, and so as a chairperson of a community board, I've always tried to make sure that everybody gets to have their say and input, and we make reasonable compromises, because that is in the best interest of democracy and building trust. Like, so my community board is new. It was the first term of a new community board. It was amalgamated. We had two existing, and then our Linwood ward came into being, and I really wanted to set the culture early about disagreeing well. And because you always get, it's not because you don't have like a really, like our parliament has a very tight whip system where the party, you have that party vote where you very seldom get people crossing the floor. Whereas at local government, I think it by its nature requires more compromise, and on the downside, I guess it makes it sometimes harder to make decisions for the long term, and can be quite sort of reactive, and um, every issue is kind of can be a bit isolated from the next.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah, I mean,
interesting.
yeah, I I do think overall the way that we do local government is good, but there's lots of room for reform and improvement.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen echoed. by a lot of different governments around the country that they're all saying the same thing of like generally it's working pretty well, but um, you know, definitely room for improvements, especially on the regional side as well. Um,
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, that's something that's come through quite clearly, I think, is that the way that, the regional and territorial authority structure needs to be looked at, but you can't, if you look at it from the perspective of local government, local government is bad and needs to do less, and we just need more decisions made centrally, then the outcome is going to just mean that normal people get less say,
Mm,
and
sure.
that's a real risk.
Well, you've pulled me down a little bit of a rabbit hole before we got started. It's a fun time, but shall we backtrack a little bit? The People's Choice. How would you describe the People's Choice to local Christchurch voters?
I'd, uh, I'd say it's a big tent, progressive umbrella that includes Labour plus Friends. So we have like most of our members and candidates are members of the Labour Party, but we also have currently have an MOU with the Green Party. So we have a number of members a number of candidates who are members of the Green Party, but they're not Green candidates as such. Um, they haven't been selected using the Green Party process, but and I can't speak to that, but we have some people who aren't members of political parties, and I guess it's been around for 20 years. The Greens have been members before when they were part of the Alliance, and the Alliance and Germanitans, Progressives were part of it um, for a bit, and it was really about bringing together very broadly people who could, we've got quite a broad, it's social justice and environment and democratic process and public ownership. I guess those are the things that we hold quite closely. And the key distinctive and the thing that has been our greatest achievement is holding on to our public assets over 30 years of pressure from, investment banks and the super wealthy and who are trying to get them. And that's, we still own our port and airport and our electricity lines company. We own our fiber optic network, and we have a big contracting company for civil works, and that delivers a huge amount of dividends, but also many other benefits. Um, and before the earthquake, that meant that Christchurch's rates were much lower, while investment in infrastructure was much higher than other territorial authorities.
Mm. I think we're Christchurch is quite a unique city in that we've had the Christchurch earthquakes and we've had that rebuild. And it seems everyone points to us and goes, "Look what Christchurch has done. They're amazing. Look at all these new buildings. Look what they've done. They've rebuilt themselves in the last what would be 12 more so 13 years? Gosh,
Yeah, so it was
is it 13 years this year?
2011 was the February earthquake.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
oh,
so
14
14 and a
years.
half years. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, it's given us opportunity to do things that we wouldn't have otherwise done. And Christchurch is a very different city than what it would have been. I wouldn't choose to go through any of that again. Um, but I think, I mean, all the surveys and stuff show that people are very optimistic about Christchurch, and our housing is much more affordable than it would have been otherwise. We've got lots of land has been opened up, um, and I just, yeah, it's hard to imagine what it would be like. Just have no idea really.
Yeah. No, I think yeah. I'm not a religious person, but sometimes God has plans for us that we, kind of just got to go with the flow a little bit. Um,
Well, it's all in how you respond to challenges,
yeah,
right? And I
yeah,
think, largely speaking, Christchurch has responded amazingly well.
sure. So for the us local voters who are perhaps the guilty of it myself, first time local voters, something I wasn't expecting is all of the different categories in which you vote. I think your website does a really good job of this with its little banner up the top here. Um, so you've got Christchurch City Council, and you've got candidates, I assume, that sort of fit each and every uh,
Uh, we don't have
district,
candidates in every ward, so
every
Christchurch is
ward.
divided into 16 wards, and then so you got one councillor and two community boards elected from the the 15. So one council and two community board members elected from the 15 urban wards. Banks Peninsula is slightly different. Has one councillor and has community board members elected from subdivisions within that. Um, we have councillors running. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you're showing them there. We've got 6 incumbent councillors, and the most we've had on with the current number of wards is 7 out of the 16. And then you've got Environment Canterbury, the regional council. We have we actually only have one incumbent there at the moment, but we've got candidates running in all the urban wards except for the one the central Hawker ward. Where they're well, there's actually only one now, but there were two progressive incumbents. So People's Choice, we don't do deals, but we decide each time where we're going to run, and we may decide because there is an incumbent person who shares our values, we may decide we're not going to run candidates there, and we may decide for other reasons not to run in certain wards. Like we don't often run candidates in Fendalton because we struggle to get anyone elected on the People's Choice ticket in Fendalton, just as they would struggle to get anyone elected on the Independent Citizens ticket in Linwood.
Interesting. Yes.
Yeah. So you,
I would
so
be
you
quite
get
surprised if you had someone running in Fiddleton, to be honest.
yeah
But it would.
yeah
Hey, times may change.
yeah. So the ECAN wards are also made. They broadly speaking cover four four wards, four city council wards, in at least in the Christchurch urban area, and there's each of the ECAN wards has two councillors, and plus there's a two Ngāi Tahu appointees, so they have 16 at the table.
Very cool. And you've got candidates who are running for more than just one of those positions.
We have
So on the ballot, you can sort of their name will come up a few times, I suppose.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to run for council or community board and regional council
Hmm.
because they're two different authorities, but you can run for community board and council. So we have, um, I think we only have one at this point person running for council and community board, um, and that's Fiona Chapman in Burwood.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, is there anything that you would like to let us know about it, specifically about the People's Choice? Very
Well,
mostly covered.
well, I guess the thing that I would say is that unless you know otherwise for sure, that if somebody is an independent, if it says independent, they're probably right wing. Um,
Yeah.
and and unless you know definitely, they're probably right wing. So there are some independents that share our values, and like Celeste Donovan in Coastal, who is a progressive, and we work with really well. But around the city, and this is we know that the independents are working together. The right-wing independents are working together. Last election, Phil Major endorsed a bunch of people, and hoping that that would pull them over the line, so he would have a council that supported his views, and that didn't really work. And so this time they've gone for a more what's the word, more subtle, I'll say, charitably approach of, it's very clear who the preferred candidates are, and but for a while the mayor was going around saying, oh, I just need one more vote to do the things I want to do, one more vote around the council table, because the council was regularly, sort of 9-8, or nine, was it 9-8, 9-7? Yeah. So 8-8 would be 16, so 17 is the mayor. So yeah, 9-8. And like as a person, I like Phil Major, and he the culture of the council has been quite positive, and he cares about a number of issues that I care about, but he's been constrained in the things he can do by a progressive majority, and that has worked out well for the city. If he has a majority, a rowing majority, it's going to be different. He's already talking about taking powers off community boards, and I've had a number of arguments with Phil about wanting to take stuff off community boards, and I always say, well, let the voters decide what they want from the community boards. He's got a massive budget to do all kinds of other things. Why are you worried about what community boards are doing? If you don't,
Mm.
let the voters decide. Like the independent citizens, quote unquote, are really just pretending to be independent, and a number of them are members of the National Party. They're aligned to the right. They they should really take independent out of their name. And I always say is that with us, People's Choice, you know what you get, you know what's on the tin, and what's on the tin is what you get. What we know what we stand for. We've got a really solid record, and if you want to keep assets and you want to retain, services like libraries and pools and that kind of thing, then we're the people to vote for. And those are all things that most people in Christchurch value. We have one of the, if not the best library service in the country, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
really popular, and it's I love libraries. I've got a highly autistic son who also loves libraries, and we go all over the city and enjoy them in every ward. And that means anywhere you live in Christchurch, you can go and you can get access to all this stuff, and you don't have to pay. You get it's your right as a citizen of Christchurch, and I think it's a great picture of what's great about this city, and that
Yeah, I'm
and
a
that's
huge advocate for our
yeah
libraries. They're amazing. The worker
yeah
space in Tūranga, especially, that is uh,
yeah
groundbreaking in a way. It's unheard of. I tell people about it, and they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can just rock it off and use a sewing machine if you need it." And there's always someone using a lot of those devices. It's very, very
yeah oh yeah. I mean Tauranga is an incredible jewel in the heart of the city, and what's one of the things I always take, like, or I tell people to go to, uh, you know, and they're just always blown away, and they're like, this is just like I don't know, it's like a civic palace of that everybody gets to enjoy. So, and that to me, it's like that's what we stand for. We stand for uh, ensuring that everybody can participate and belong and enjoy Christchurch.
Hmm. And it also gives people. I mean, we have a lot of issues throughout the country with disengagement from youth, and I feel like those community places that you can go to, um, they stop kids from sort of aimlessly wandering around and kind of end up looking, well, not looking for trouble, but they end up finding trouble because they haven't got those spaces where they that they can go to that are public, and and sort of facilitate their needs. And actually, while we're on the topic, the youth hub that's just opposite the Avon. What's happening with that? It's sitting like a 90% for a wee while now. I haven't biked past it for a little while, but um, I'm always excited to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
what's
Oh,
happening
I
there.
mean, it's it's not. I mean, the person to talk to about that is Sue Bagshaw,
Mm.
and I can't give you any update on that other than that one of my previous jobs I was working as a youth housing, working after the earthquake, helping mostly young parents, mostly young women getting housing, and it was a very challenging job. And one of my collaborators was Sue Bagshaw. We've been she has made progress towards providing transitional housing to young people where nobody else could, and it's a it's now you know 14 years on. We fought to get it just on the agenda. So yeah, I mean it's really exciting, and we you know when I started in that role, and you had it was Paula Bennett actually when she became the minister for youth and social development said, oh, we don't need youth housing in this country. And here I was working,
Mm.
I mean, there were young, 19-year-old with a baby sleeping in cars, more than one. Just, yeah, it's just outrageous. And now I'd say the housing crisis is just as bad, different, but just as bad. There are people camping in tents in the red zone and other places. It's just like it's outrageous, and the government is de-investing in social housing.
Mm. Yeah. Um, you talked about Mia before. Do you have any candidates that are going for mayor
No,
or deputy mayor? I know Pauline Cotter is the current deputy mayor. Is
so
she
Pauline,
going back for re-election?
well, so firstly, we don't have a mayoral candidate, and we're not endorsing and haven't been asked to endorse a mayoral candidate. Um, and secondly, the deputy mayor is well, it's appointed by the mayor, but it has because the council can override it. It's done in consultation with the rest of the council, and I think Pauline has been a fantastic mayor. She's a very experienced city councillor. But she's also really down to earth, and she works really hard, and she knows how to get things done. And I think the incumbent mayor has been really fortunate to have such an excellent deputy mayor, and the city has been too. And it will depend on how the numbers lie. And I haven't asked Pauline whether she would want to remain the deputy mayor, but I'd certainly be very happy for her to be. And it's another good reason for people to vote for her rather than her opponent. That'll be a very tight race. Everybody in Innis needs to vote for Pauline. Um, yeah, lots of time for Pauline. She's uh, really neat.
Mm. She is my local. So I've there's also Mike Davidson. Is he also running for board?
Yeah, so he's running for the community board. Obviously, he's going to Parliament on the list, um,
Mm.
and but he's said that he will, if he is elected to community board, he'll donate his salary his from the community board to the Mayor's Welfare Fund, and will
Wow.
and will serve that role, rather than causing a by-election or something like that. But that we we'll just have to see what happens with that.
Very exciting. Very, very cool. I did have another question related to Mia. I can't remember. Well, I've got you here. Sarah Templeton. Any thoughts there? Because I obviously not endorsing any candidates, but she's probably the only one that's really stood out for us to
Well,
vote for.
I mean, Sarah's got a clear progressive platform. I mean, I've worked with Sarah. We've worked with Sarah a lot. She is a lot of our values and policy preferences. Um, and she's the clear alternative to Phil Major. Um, we know that we can work constructively with Phil Major for the most part around the council, but we also know that we can work constructively with Sarah. Um, it's but if you are on the left, then Sarah is on the left. I would prefer that she was stronger on asset sales than she has been. I'm in saying that, like, both both of the main mayoral candidates have ruled out selling all or part of the main strategic assets. We have, one thing that I'm particularly concerned about is Enable, because people don't really know much about it, but we own our fibre optic network. In the rest of the country, it's mostly Chorus, and that means that we're really well placed to take advantage of, because of like fibre, you cannot move data faster than light. The limitation is on the connections to it. It's critical 21st century infrastructure, and we're in it's a very uncertain world. We're at the bottom of the world, isolated. We have the opportunity to provide data services to people who want their data to be safe and private. It's just one element of it. I think we'd be mad to sell Enable, but there's lots of pressure because people are saying things, and I don't, about that it's being superseded by other things, but they don't understand the technology. But that's a bit of an aside. It's a pet peeve of mine.
No, I think we're definitely in the no asset sales camp over here, and I think there's enough smart people around the place. Not even smart people. I think people understand why assets are important to hold on to. I mean, we've seen with
But
Wellington that kind of put that spotlight on that on asset sales with the Wellington airport shares. But there's a lot of
yes,
people that understand sort of the investment and the returns type system, that they can understand why it's important to not just sell out on that.
one thing that people don't seem to understand is that if you sell down below 75% ownership, you lose control. You can't
Hmm.
uh, do major things. You can't change the constitution without uh, the other um, the other shareholders, and you also become classified as a foreign owned if it's owned by a foreign entity. It becomes a foreign owned company if it's less than 75% owned, um, and 100% ownership is what we want, um, and it doesn't, like, this monopoly infrastructure, like, you can't compete on it like this. It's like we see this with the power industry now, where this idea that the retail power companies are competing with each other when it's the same product. It's just ridiculous. It's been a massive failure. Um, the privatization of these monopoly assets, and it's just ideology that thinks that the private sector can run it better. I'm
Hmm.
like, if it's run badly, then run it better. Don't sell it. It's just, as I said, we've been successful in stopping this, except for the sale of Redbus um, over the last 30
Yeah.
years.
Ah,
Um,
that makes sense now, as to
yeah,
why all the
yes.
red buses disappeared.
Yeah, well,
That's
yeah. I mean, it really, the the public transport system should be owned and operated um, by local government and run as a public service rather than contracted out competitively.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
again, it's an element of failure. Like, if you look at London, where the trains have been privatised, but the tube is publicly owned, and the tube is fantastic and affordable.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
Very interesting.
yeah, yeah. So No, sorry, I had a tangent there, but it's gone. You might have to edit that bit out.
No, no. It's all right. We quite often lose our train of thought. So we have co-hosts to throw to every now and then. Fortunately, my co-host is not available. But I'm sure Magenta will really enjoy this. I know we're talking quite. Our show kind of goes nationally, and I don't know how many of our viewers are from Christchurch. But I think it's important to spotlight each of the regions and what's going on. And I think the People's Choice is really cool. I see. I think it's done really professional branding, and the candidates. I like that you've got that overarching progressive uh, value set, so that people know when they see People's Choice, and they see the brand, that they know what they're voting for. And it's honestly made it very easy um, to vote this election for myself, and I bet there's a number of people that also um, feel the same way. Well, I mean, if they agree with it. Um, on the topic of election, seeing as we've got you here and you've got the platform, would you like to do a pitch for yourself?
Oh, pitch for myself. Oh, goodness me. Oh, I must mention first my deputy, well, sorry, I've got a deputy chair of community board and incumbent Jackie Simons, who we're like this. Um, she's awesome, and I couldn't have asked for a better deputy chair or better servant of the Linwood ward. Um, and so we work as a team, and we both, we're both Woolston hard and passionate Labour people who have really enjoyed ourselves and getting things done. And if we go through our community board plan, we've ticked off heaps and heaps and heaps of it. So what I mean, that's that's why I wanted to run, and why I'm running again is because I want to get things done for my community. And we've been able to get played a small part in getting some big things happen. And we have the organics processing plant, which smells as being replaced and with something much better technology and going to Hornby. The wastewater treatment plant's getting upgraded and repaired. Um, we've managed to get repairs on roads like Mesas Road, and we've got plenty of things that we want to do. We want to do something with the old depot in Smith Street to make it available for the community, with community space. It's underutilized, and it's a great location. It'd be great to have the Linwood Library there, and we we would really like, and also to get some more roads renewed, get more trees planted. That's something we've made great progress on as well. Um, and just make sure that the voice of the East isn't ignored, um, and to work constructively with everyone who has an interest um, in our area of the city. Um, I also want to put a brief plug in for my the co-chair of the People's Choice. It'd be remiss of me not to mention her, Sunita Gautam, who's running for re-election in the Central Ward. She is a really positive and hard-working person who people don't often see the work that she does, but she is, she's a real asset to the People's Choice into the city.
Very cool. Well, we're all very, very excited to have some input about how the country is going and voting in the upcoming election. Election date is, I know that the papers have to be in by the 7th if you're doing it by post.
Post, yeah. But there's now, and this is really, really good, there's bins in most of the supermarkets. So, like there's bins and there's New World Woolston, Countdown, Eastgate, the library at Eastgate, and at the Wainoni Pack and Save, and the Ferrymead Countdown. So and all around the city, it's similar to that. And at the Aranui Library as well. So it's real easy to vote. And it's funny. Like there are the reasons why people don't vote isn't because it's easy to vote, not easy to vote. Sorry, but it's good to make it easy to vote.
And the last date of vote is the
11th of October at 12 p.m. So
perfect. Trying to look it
yeah,
up and
so
confirm
vote.
it.
Yeah, plenty of time to vote. Yeah, and for those who are considering not voting, in areas like Innis and Central and Heathcote, like I think probably if you're watching Big Hairy News, then you probably care about things like asset sales and public libraries and stuff. In those marginal wards, every vote's going to make a difference.
There you go. There's the pitch. Go vote, guys. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us.
Oh,
I
my
could
pleasure.
talk Christchurch local politics for a while, but I won't
Oh,
keep
oh,
it.
me too. I could probably do it all day, to be honest.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we will hopefully hear from you again. And if you would like to see any other candidates who'd like to have a chinwag with us, throw them our way. And
Yeah,
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 good
sure.
luck.
Yeah, if thank you. And we always keen to have volunteers. So if anybody's watching this and been like, yes, then just get in touch, and you can go to our website and get our contact details, or yeah, feel free to get in touch with me. It's the get out the vote period now, so the more the merrier.
Sure. Oh, thank you very much, and good luck.
Thanks, you.